You are listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar by going to www.addclasses.com. And between now and the rest of 2017, we are going to be rebroadcasting some of our past episodes. So today you're going to be listening to an episode from Dana Rayburn, which originally aired in March of 2016.
In just a moment, we're going to be talking about money, adult ADHD, and the mindset associated with money. So welcome back, Dana.
Tara, hi. Thank you so much for having me back.
Can you let our listeners know a bit about yourself and how they get in touch with you after they listen to today's show?
Of course, I'm an ADHD coach for adults. I work with mostly business owners and professionals. I've been doing this for, I'm about 19 years now. And it's great way to earn a living, to be able to help people really do what I call outsmart their ADHD and help them learn a new way of living, to recreate their image of themselves is what I call it. My website is www.danarayburn.com. That's DANARAYBURN.com. I've got a great blog and newsletter that comes out every week. It's very popular. And I'm also very excited about a program that I've got coming up. It's the ADHD Success Club. It's an ongoing group program focusing on organizing, time management, and symptoms management skills for ADHD. It's a very affordable price, so if you're interested in that, go onto the website and you can find out more information there, and that starts May 10th.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Yeah, Dana's site is great. Definitely check it out. Some great resources. You have an awesome blog and other stuff on there. So I've been noticing a lot lately that a lot of people have been writing into me, or seeing them posting stuff all over the web, people with ADHD, about, I can't afford this. I can't do that. I'm never going to be able to afford this. And it really hit me that it's about time to address that as professionals with ADHD, that, there's a negative mindset out there when it comes to adults with ADHD and money, and it can really be hurting people from getting the help they so desperately need. So I asked you to come on and discuss it with me. So welcome, Dana. I'm glad you've said yes to discussing this. It might be a little bit of a controversial topic, but it's definitely needed.
Well, and I think, Tara, that it can be controversial, but I believe if people really look with awareness at what they're thinking, what their thought processes are about money, and how they're approaching it, they can be very enlightened about what's going on with themselves. This is a big problem. And before we came on, you and I were talking about it. I struggled with this myself for years. My childhood growing up, I wasn't from a wealthy family. We didn't have a lot of money. There were a lot of issues around it, and I brought those with me. And so I've had to really work on this. But having a negative money mindset really can be a huge barrier to success. And
yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that you brought up that you can relate to this, because I can too. We're not just two people who are coming on here and saying, we're successful people with ADHD, give us your money. What we're saying is we understand it as two adults with ADHD ourselves who have struggled financially, but we've done things to work on it for ourselves, and we want to share that with the listeners.
Yeah, and it can be absolutely frightening. I know when I first started, I would break out in a sweat. I could hardly ask for payment. I mean, it was awful, and I would just constantly say, well, I can't do that, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I can't afford it. Yeah, so it was a lot of work to get over it. It really was, but it's been huge. It's been absolutely huge and incredibly life-changing to get rid of those old thought processes and patterns.
Yeah. And sometimes I think a lot of us with ADHD, it's part of we're not good enough, so I can't afford that, or I'm not putting myself first, so I'm not going to hire somebody, or I can't hire somebody to help me clean the house. So I think there's a lot of emotional issues with it too, which there's so many resources out there, and there's so many ways we can connect and get help. And sometimes it's a little bit of money, sometimes it might be an investment, but I think it's also an investment in yourself when you pay somebody, when you hire a coach, or you hire a personal assistant, or you go out and get a massage or something, when it comes to like self-care. So, it's an investment in yourself.
Yes, it is. And obviously you've got to be realistic about it. But also I know what I was thinking. There's so much shame around it. When I was a professional organizer, people would say, well, I'd love to hire you. I need to work with you, but I don't want you to see what my office looks like. And you got to realize that if you're hiring a house cleaner, or if you're hiring a coach or a professional organizer or somebody to help you, they've seen it all. I mean, there was very little that I could see as a professional organizer that really made me stop and say, whoa. So it's professionals are used to seeing the stuff you're hiring to help you with. But I believe there are also some other issues around ADHD and money. We tend to be impulsive. We tend to sometimes spend without thinking. And so we can have a pattern of getting ourselves into trouble financially.
Yes.
Building up credit card debt just because it can be easy to do. I've got money on the card, so hey, let's just spend it. Or else another thing is handling money and paying attention to money takes detail and attention to detail, which we don't have. It takes organization, which we don't have. So those nuts and bolts of dealing with money so you don't get yourself in trouble with it are often missing for all of us. And I think I know for me, once I got a handle on that kind of thing, the mindset was a lot easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and I think when you put it out there, though, but the way you brought up, if you've already, been struggling through the impulsivity, or you haven't been paying attention to the details, and you just know your credit card's close to the limit, you're paying this, and that, if you're not really thinking about it and being mindful of it and paying attention to details, yes, you probably can't afford anything else. So I think it makes sense, when you explain it that way, that it has to do with the details and the impulsivity. But sometimes when you slow down and look at the details, you can realize that, okay, maybe you can't afford it, or maybe if you adjust something else or look at it differently, it makes sense to make that investment in yourself.
Right, exactly. But the underlying thought that I can't afford it is very debilitating.
It is.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm not sure. I know there's been research behind this, and there's science support this, that what you focus on is what you end up getting. And I know for me, when I had that tape, and that's truly the tape I had playing in my head for many years, is I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. When you have that tape playing, it's true. You can't afford it.
Yeah, yep. And you're not going to find ways to afford if that's what you keep saying in your mind. And it can become as simple as like changing around that thought a tiny bit to, what would it take to be able to afford this? What could I do differently to afford this? I mean, some people might just change it with, I'm putting myself first, I can afford it. But you could just change it from a question of, okay, I'm thinking of, I can't afford it, to what would it take to afford this? And, sometimes you can journal it out, you can brainstorm, but just changing that tiny way that you're looking at it and thinking about it, that can like really help improve things.
Yes, and also being aware of the thoughts, being aware of the conversation going on in your head, being aware of how you're presenting things to yourselves. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And so often we don't even notice. So that's one of the first things I would have people do, is start to notice. How often do they say I can't afford it versus how can I afford it, or what can I have instead?
Yes.
Yeah. It's really a tricky issue, though, Tara.
It is, and there's a lot of emotion attached to it. And I remember when I first started getting involved in the ADHD community, my finances were a mess. I had just went out of college. I had just had my car repossessed. I mean, I was miserable, and it was looking at the different ADHD coaching had just come out, and it's like, I can't afford that. And I was getting angry that these people are offering coaching and everyone's like me and it's messed up. But what I did is I started offering programs that were more affordable. I changed it. So it's like, what can I do to change this? Maybe it wasn't, what can I do to change my own financial issues at first? I've changed them over the years, but it was like, what can I do? What's something I can do? So I found ways to take control of it. So I think, knowing that there are ways, like even if you are in that financial dire mess, and you're miserable about it, there are ways to take back a little bit of control, whether it's changing your finances or just, doing something else.
Right. And I really have always applauded you for what you've done as far as offering lower cost services. And that's one reason I've started the ADHD Success Club, because it does bother me that private coaching with me is very expensive. It is truly out of reach financially for a lot of people. So that's why, and I know that's why you've done what you've done, and I'm offering the Success Club at a much lower rate, and it's great value. But anyway, it's because we have to make sure that things are affordable for people.
Yes.
But that's because there truly are people that can't swing the full cost of a high-quality coach. But it's really, you got to start with the mindset and be very realistic with yourself. Is it true that I can't afford it?
Yes.
Is it true?
Well, it's interesting. Like, if you look at, a lot of it's about priorities, what's important to you. And I remember a couple years back, I had a friend that was just like, can't afford this, I can't afford that. I'm like, yeah, but you just paid $50 to go out for dinner and drinks with me last night. And another friend, I'm like, how much do you pay for cable? And he's like, I don't know, $250 a month. I'm like, so you're paying $200? And he's like, but I can't cancel it because I watch sports. So not that that's right, wrong, or whatever, but people's priorities, if you want to pay $200 to watch a bunch of people chase a ball and make millions of dollars,
Obviously, you're not a sports fan, Tara.
I used to be. I am, but if you look at it, so I'm like, okay, you're making that choice, but that's important to you.
Yeah.
So I think it's looking at, priorities, and, maybe sometimes, we're signing up for a program like you offer, or buying a book, or paying a babysitter to come to your house so you can, relax and get away from your kids for a little bit. It's looking at what is important to you. And I think some of it for adults with ADHD is we're not putting ourselves first, but it is also being realistic. I mean, there's so much involved when it comes to this money mindset.
There really is. And the priorities, early on when I was an early coach, probably in my second year or so, I had a client who said, well, I need to stop coaching with you because I can't afford it. But then he turned around and bought cashmere sweaters for his 3 sisters and his mother for Christmas.
Yeah.
And, and I'm, well, can you explain this to me? What are the priorities? Because obviously he needed help with his ADHD, but it's a very interesting thing, and it's a tough beast to deal with.
Yes,
it really
yes.
is. I'm curious what you did to get over it. I'm curious what you did about their mindset.
I went through. It took me years. I mean, I still have a little bit of a negative mindset. I just recently started working one-on-one with a business coach. Hadn't in years. And at first I'm like, I thought about it, and I'm like, too expensive. Then it's like, okay, no, it's not too expensive. It wasn't a priority to me at first, but it was surrounding myself with other people who have a more positive money mindset. That was helpful to listen to things. And I did some of those online courses about the power of abundance or the abundance blocks and stuff like that. So I looked at it from different aspects, from like the scientific aspect, from the ADHD aspect, from the spiritual aspect. So I think I surrounded myself with people and, recordings and stuff of people who looked at money differently. And, I still have my issues. There are still things where it's like I go back and forth, but I'm questioning myself. When it came to hiring a business coach, it was like, at first it was like, oh, I can't afford that. That's too expensive. Then it's like, okay, so I gradually moved on, and now it was like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready. It's a priority for me, and I know it's an investment. But there are things like, that I want, or it's for me. I think it was it took a while, and. But I think there are still some things that money is. I still have somewhat of a block with it, and there is still some negativity around money. I'm not going to say I'm like 100% think money's the greatest thing on earth, blah blah blah. But it's a process for me, or was a process.
Yeah, I found for me it was too, and it as very similar to the path you've taken. It was baby steps. It was starting, but it all started with the realization that this was holding me back, to keeping me from getting where I wanted to get.
Yeah.
Both as in improving myself and the way that I live, but also in growing my business. And that I had to get the business coaching that we're talking about. It's expensive, and one of the other things that I really had to deal with was this idea that debt is shameful. Using debt wisely and managing debt is sometimes what you have to do to be able to get yourself to where you want to go.
Yes.
You know, so it's all choices, but again, it starts with that awareness and deciding, okay, what do I need to shift to get where I'm going?
Mm-hmm. And I started small, too. I mean, I just hired a business coach, and it's you know, it was a significant investment. But I signed up for a program she offered before that was more reasonably priced. And I built trust with this person. I listened to her. I liked it. So I think that's it, too. You know, maybe people might be listening saying, okay, I love Dana. I want to hire her for a one-on-one coach, but maybe I'm not quite ready. So what they could do is go to your website, you know, purchase your book, which I don't know the exact price, but maybe a $20 type investment. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing. That you could start small when it comes to whether it's working with a coach or whatever it is. You know, you don't have to make that investment and get a second mortgage on your house to work with somebody. You could start with something smaller they offer, or, you know, like you were saying, be realistic, but start small, but also put yourself first.
Yeah.
And we live in a society where, like it or not, we're like pretty much ruled by money. And that's just how it is, unless we change society, which, you know, maybe we can, but right now we live in a society where it's money makes the world go round, like it or not.
Exactly. It really does. But also the priorities are skewed, in my opinion, for it's so bent on how you look and how white your teeth are and you know, how expensive your shoes are and all of that it kind of is warped, in my opinion. But that's just me. That's just me. Yeah.
Yeah, in a sense, I think we've been brainwashed to buy the things that television or whatever else tells us we need to have. And I don't think they're telling us, you know, we need a coach or we need a personal assistant or we need to focus on our mind, body, and spirit. They're telling us to buy, I don't know, sugar-laced, Oreos or whatever it is. So,
No, so it's really it's an interesting topic. It really is.
It's
there's a lot of depth to it. And the more I've been thinking about it before our call today, the more I realize, wow, and then it affects this and it affects that. And
it does.
Yeah.
And you and I are not trying to do an infomercial for our services.
No, not at all.
No. I mean, it's just kind of, I want you to think about it, put yourself first, and maybe you'll listen to this and you're going to go invest in something that has nothing to do with ADHD or one of us, but it's something that's going to help you live a happier, more productive life. It's just to kind of look at it and to, you know, the next time you think about, I can't afford this, see if you can change that. You know, the question is, how can I afford it? What would it take to afford this? Or to kind of look at things differently and put yourself first.
I know for me, our house cleaner, it's you know, it's a couple $100 a month, and that's expensive. But the cost of not having her is a lot higher than that. In my sanity, in our peace of mind, in our arguments on our family, because everybody's trying to dodge vacuuming or, you know, whatever chore needs to be done. And it really is once you get used to paying it, it's very affordable and it's so worth it. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine not having her.
And it helps you with your business. It helps you
it
helps your family be happier. And I'm sure you make more money or you bring in, you know, wealth in other areas of your life from paying this person. And, you know, maybe somebody doesn't have to pay $100, $200 a month for a housekeeper. Maybe it's someone that comes in once a month and you can start off small, but you're it's right. I think it's time to put ourselves first and to change your mindset a bit. You are worth it instead of I can't do it, I'm not good enough, or I can't afford it. But I
can't afford it.
Putting yourself first.
Yeah, and change from I
can't
to how.
Towards the end. We are.
We are.
And a show. Yeah, that went by quickly. Is there anything that you haven't shared today that you feel is important to share? And could you make sure you give out your website information?
Yeah, I'd say just start to notice the conversation in your head when you're not doing something that really would get you to where you do want to go. Start to listen to the words you use to talk to yourself, because we all have conversations going on in our head. So start to pay attention to that, and then switch that from I can't to how. How could I? And what do I want instead? Yeah. And then again, Tara, thank you so much for having me on. I always love our conversations. I think they're great. So again, my website is danarayburn.com, and the new exciting thing coming up is the ADHD Success Club. It starts May 10th, and you can find out about it on the website. So, and also sign up for my free e-zine, ADHD Success, on there. It's great.
Yes, definitely check out Dana's website. Great stuff. And I want to thank everyone for listening to ADHD Support Talk Radio. And if you are listening to iTunes, be sure to stop by our website at ADHDSupportTalk.com. Thanks again.